basics, guys. Don't feel obligated to like just stay silent the whole time. If there are like serious questions you guys have throughout the conversations of this, like please don't hesitate. Just like interrupt me because I'm always open to just like explaining sort of what I'm talking about and like what we're sort of feeling in regards to like groups and like what we're wanting to do with these opportunities. So, can somebody pull?
My dick.
Let me see. Pebbles said he wants to join. Let me see. Is Pebbles cool with joining? Are you guys okay with Pebbles being in here?
Yeah, that's fine.
I personally don't like.
You don't like Pebbles?
Fuck Pebbles.
I'm kidding. We're in the same. Fine.
Hold on one sec. Let me just make sure. Because I know Panda said she was coming, so I wanted to really just walk through stuff and like sort of talk to people about like what we do for macro and sort of like look at some of the VODs that you guys had like the other day in regards to this. So like we're gonna disregard this a little bit, just sort of disregard. Oh fuck! I just deleted group 3, but like you guys understand like the basic setup of like how points are played. Like there's a top left, there's a top right, there's a bottom left, bottom right. There's fucking 3 groups. So this is actually chalked because this is a super old raid plan. Maybe I'll find a better one. Hold on.
I don't know if they're here. We do have some lovely Aussies. That don't really play quad, so they may not be as familiar. But I don't think the ones that don't usually play it, I don't think they're here.
God,
so.
that's a fucked one. You guys don't want that one. Hold on.
I'll see if I can track them down if they're not at work.
Do you have one of
No.
You don't have one of Hibby's plans?
Mm-mm.
Does he just keep those to himself?
I don't have them.
Okay. Astro?
Astro does not have them. Oops, I'm sorry.
That's quite all right.
There you
I'm
go.
just looking for like a raid plan sort of that.
Boo, you suck.
I have like 30 raid plans, so I'm just like looking for them. Hold on.
Don't give him performance anxiety.
No, dude, I don't have any performance anxiety. I'm actually like losing my voice.
No, he always does with me.
Wait, is Pebbles banned from your Discord?
No way.
No, he shouldn't be. He shouldn't be.
I want to double check that.
It says he just joined.
Oh.
Check it out.
Damn, and they say we're
He
dramatic.
just needs a friends role.
Fucking straights.
All right, but anyway, like long story short, you guys know what it is. Let me see what the plan. What's plan? Ooh, that's actually a crazy plan. No, we don't want that one. Like long story short, you guys know what it is. There's differences between main ball, kill squads, quad DPS, working with healers, working wherever we need to in regards to like trying to hold the point. Like overall, if you're playing top quads, you know that the importance of stepping up there, working with your groups 1 and 2, really trying to help create that pressure, making sure that we are looking to dog players. Like that's sort of like the main point of these top quads. Like so, like 5 and 6. Like I know that when Hibby was going really deep into his explanation the other day for you guys, like the main thing that he was really talking to you guys about is like being able to step on and off a point. Like what I always recommend for people is to just like when you're playing on top point. So like think about it like this. So if you're playing on top of point, say this is group 5, this is group 6, 1 and 2 are here. You got 3, you got 4 on the bottom of point. Like the main thing that you guys are working together to do is really create pressure towards the top of point. The main reason why we want to do this and we want groups 3 and groups 4 to really step up is to not only just let our healers stand on the bottom of point and create that uptick, but it's also to really like help us like drag their army up and actually get kill potential. Because if their bottom quads are playing too realistically in the bottom point, like you know for a fact that you guys have an opportunity to dog one person down. Don't necessarily have to live in your quad either. That's something that I always tell people is that like you don't really have to live in your specific zone whenever you guys are playing these quads. So that's something that's really important. Like I mean if there's like 15 people in your fucking quad and you need to step out, then do it. But like you don't have to just like live in this zone, you know. The importance of left and right are definitely different. So I want to talk about that and sort of walk through that with you guys and understanding how point tick is won, how point tick is caused, and how that sort of sort of snowballs into a war. I mean, a lot of armies do typically split off the rip when it comes to wars coming through and wars coming out. So like, for example, like we full send with like groups 3, 5, 1, and 2. You know, like we really actually want to just like send people over and we leave 4, 6, 7 here once we've captured A. And the last war that we were with Old W, like they pretty much just gave us A for free. And that was something that I noticed that was pretty quick off the rip. But there was a ripple effect when it came to where our quad DPSs are working, sort of how your groups 11 and 12 are a thing, and sort of wanting to work with that. That's something that I think that you guys have sort of grown into and sort of developed, but a lot of armies nowadays are actually using those groups 11 and 10 to just pressure the point even more and even harder. Their kill potential is very high, but their DPS is very high as well. So you guys know who you are. You're the fire staffs, you're the spears. You guys are the basic guys who really are working around that point to create the pressure and lay down those meteor showers to really help that. So overall, with those different quads and with those different type of play sets, like in thoughts in mind, like there's different things that each quad does, and I'll explain that to you guys now. So first things first, the way that a point is pretty much ticked in general, the way you start creating pressure is by alleviating pressure around the point. Kill squad potential is always going to be something that it causes a point to be either won or lost. So for example, the other night, our kill squads were sort of all over the place with Trop. We really wanted to make sure that we were focusing down and really working on trying to actually create that pressure so we can actually get back into the backline. Because if you think about it, like if we're doing kill squad things, yeah, it's going to be a 5v5 sometimes. Sorry, this circle's a little too low. So yeah, it's going to be a 5v5 sometimes, but like we want to make sure that if we are getting picks, we want to make sure that we are really taking that win and applying the pressure elsewhere. Whether it's to the back line, whether it's to the point alleviating our top right quad or our bottom right quad, depending on what side is winning or losing. Group 7, typically in wars, like when we get to the last point, like you guys are, sorry, this is backwards again. Sorry, just ignore this. This is like a really old PowerPoint, so ignore like the BB duos and stuff like that, because that's when IGBB was in factor. But like, so like group 7, your pressure is up on these ramparts. Like you guys know how to play specifically because Bigelow's been playing it for a long time. You alleviate pressure here in this area. You don't allow their free wraps down or down the bottom of point, and you guys look to enter point to really help create space on that road, create pressure to their healers where they're not playing. When it comes to okay, let me go back. So like yeah, kill squads are like your main thing that want to really help you start creating point tick. Typically when you guys get to a last point, this is something that I noticed a lot of, is that when we reset and we had quads and lineups like all over the bottom of point, we were struggling. One thing I saw a lot of is just people just like running in, because like group 8, 9, and 10 are down here, and we're struggling to wrap into the actual, we're struggling to actually wrap into the point. So like when I see groups just running straight at point, like it allowed their kill squads and their players to just sit here, and then they would just step into 8, 9, 10. And that's what really causes it. So we want to make sure that we are really trying to protect our kill squads while we're walking in. You don't have to necessarily like hold their hands. Like if a kill squad sees bruisers with them, they should know for a fact that you are really trying to create that pressure that they want. You don't want to necessarily just be like, okay, like there's bruisers down here. What the hell am I going to do? Like, you guys have better kill potential than they do. Like, you know, like a lot of their people are probably standing around point trying to watch for this bonfire push, trying to stop the top bonfire push. Like, you guys have way more kill potential than their army does at that time. There's a lot of guys like Watson. Don't fucking, if you guys see Watson running around with his whirlwind again, just fucking ignore the, I almost said a bad word. Ignore the idiot. Ignore the idiot. Use whatever word you want to put there, but like,
I
ignore
will.
that guy.
I will say that when we were watching VODs, everyone was so obsessed with Watson. Like
Yeah.
that's all I hear is Watson. There's Watson. There's Watson. There's Watson. There's Watson. Like it was.
So,
everyone,
yeah.
I don't, yeah.
So yeah, like long story short, like just ignore the guy. He's definitely not something that I like change the tide of the war if we secure on him. Like that's just what it is. Like
And yeah,
we have to go ahead.
and the same night he was he went into someone's stream and he was in their Discord, but he didn't realize he was on the stream. Like we can hear him. He was like, yo, I literally just played with the Trop people and they fell for it and they kept chasing me. and I was just trolling, and they wouldn't leave me alone.
Yeah,
It was he literally was just telling everyone like how easy it was.
he's literally just a distraction for you guys. He's not even shot calling these wars. He didn't shot call that
Mhm.
war the other night, and he was pretty adamant on the stuff that he had to say. But like, long story short, like when splits are happening, like, for example, so we'll go back here. So A's taken. We got 6-4-10 still, or 6-4-7 still standing here, right? We full send like 8-9-10 when Heavy wants us to split. Does that make sense? So far, so good. One of the things that I always tell people here is that like the fight on B point is usually going to be in one of the 4 quads. So like usually bruisers will group up together in a quad, play space, try to actually create pressure to one person. This gives opportunity for healers to step in other areas that actually will allow them free tick. That's how you start taking up B point, especially when we're heavy stepping on this C point over here. Usually, Hibby usually calls a quick crash and then tells everybody to rotate. That's usually what happens, or Hibby calls a split right off the rip, and we have that. We need to keep in mind that we need to keep stepping here. I always recommend like maybe keeping a couple of quad DPSs, like 2 of the fire staffs, and like maybe like your spear or something like that to really create that pressure. It's super useful for people who are really trying to get into that, and it will actually allow a lot more kill potential with your group 7, because your group 7 is probably looking for a lot of their healers and fighting their group 7, but at the same time, like it allows that pressure to be alleviated for 4 and 6 to really stay and actually step on the point. Even if you're a healer in group 7, like you have the opportunity to step there, do it, because one extra pair of toes on the point will actually create that spin a lot harder than we actually see it as. So just keep that in mind for B point when the splits come up. My right quad's like you're gonna have a little bit more of a tougher time because it's weak side. So like when we get to these fights, like you guys don't have the support of your bonfire or your oppo. You don't have the support of group 8 to really help you in and really look at that. And that's something that I saw a lot of, because group 7 usually plays up on ramparts. You guys just have to know when to play your lives. Especially if you're in top right. Like top right is usually like one of the more safer areas when you're on C point. So for example, this is C point. Don't mind me. My handwriting's horrible. So like for C point, like the main way that you are able to win a last point, because you guys get down to last point a lot. It's just that we have the struggles of like getting into the fort. Like that's been like the main issue that we've had going forward as an army, and I want to talk to you guys about that. So once again, we reset. We have everybody stepping back. We have everybody working together. Hibby calls for certain groups to go top ramparts. Hibby calls for people to go their road. Usually I try to split up an army when it comes to like pushes off of ramparts and pushes off of resets, because it really sort of confuses them. They sometimes can throw more bodies at the road. They can sometimes throw less bodies down at their road, and it allows us to take it to point. So like when these groups are pushing, like when Hibby's calling us for like a push to point, like groups 4 and 3, you need to be, or bottom quads, you need to be walking this in. I even sometimes decide to take my top quad, so top left, for example. You with 3, 4, and 8, 9, 10, like you guys are literally trying to wrap this point, but don't let them live in this free space. Like if they're still standing here in this free space, like it's just gonna cause problems for your healers. It's gonna cause problems for you. It's gonna cause problems for your kill squads, because they're gonna be outnumbered now. We're gonna have to deal with different stuff going on around the point, and it's not gonna allow these three groups to be able to walk in with you. And the main thing that you want to do is to set up at a point. That's like the main thing when it comes to this last point. You want to make sure that you are setting up, you are developing, your quads are getting into their positions, your point team's on point, everybody's working their way around. Kill squads are holding this line and even shoving this line with their kill potential, especially off of these wraps, because if 8's wrapping inner, group 9s can start wrapping harder into outer. And then group 10, I'm going to be honest, you guys are like fucking off out here. Like group 10 is its own little war inside of war, guys. The only way that group 10 really works in with the arm, oh shit. The only way that group 10 really works in with the army, guys, when we do set up for final points, is if they get a pick. And there's there's things that I've seen in different people's VODs when it comes to understanding what kind of picks you guys are looking for. And I want to explain that a little bit better. There's always going to be prio for kill squads no matter what. This is something that I've tutored to the Fresh company that I played for a long time and I called for a long time, is that we want to focus light targets such as healers and fire staffs. Fire staffs are probably some of the main damage to kill squads nowadays. Yeah, there's bows in group 10, sometimes in 9 and 8, but like you guys need to be slotting at least some fucking fire resist, some fucking thrust damage. It depends on your build. I know a lot of disruptors that split their damage between thrust and fire. I know people who split their damage between thrust, fire, and slash. Like, you understand. I hope a lot of the kill squad players in here understand that like sword and shield isn't used half as much as a spear is during a war. That's something that you have to keep in mind for those kill squad fights. So always think about that whenever you're putting in conditioning into your gear. Anybody have any questions so far? I'm sure there are probably some. I would definitely like to answer, explain, listen. What do you guys want to know?
All right, so my question is for the 4 fire staffs.
Mhm.
How do they juggle between using meteor on the kill squad and meteor on the point?
So when it comes to army setups, your army's a little different. So with your army, I believe that you guys have what, like it's group 12, like is usually out here helping, right? And then group 11, like the +1 is group 11, because that was me helping with 7 the other night. All right. So group 12's your like 3 fire staffs. Here, let me just do this. This is easier.
Yeah,
So
4 fire staffs.
4 fire staffs.
Yeah.
So you guys use your fire staffs to really help set up your kill squads, and I mean that's just a +1. That's just a +1. So, I don't know what y'all's fire staff builds look like, but I know a lot of armies are conditioning their fire staffs into other elements. So, for example, a lot of the patters, a lot of the quad DPS fire staffs that we use in our armies, when it's either supple, whether it's 2-upple, whether it's pumpers, we all slot like ice, or we slot I think somebody used nature. I don't know what else we had, Moxie. I think we had like a
Arcane
abyss
and
one.
Void.
Arcane.
Yeah, arcane void. Yeah, Kenji's build is like void or some shit like that.
Yeah,
or
they're
arcane.
told that they should, and I've heard them talk about like what are they running, so they're not running the same one.
Yeah,
So they should be running different.
I mean,
element.
even if you guys are understanding of it, like the main things that these kill squad players do for y'all's army is to assist the kill squad. So yeah, you guys are trying to add kill potential. Look for those light players. Look for those fucking healers. Try to burst them down as best as you can with your fireballs, with your pillars of fire. Like, make sure you're playing safe and playing your life, but like make sure you're applying pressure to where you need to. Even if it's 2 disruptors, like this is the prio that I always want to sort of toot to you guys, like when it comes to prio for kill squads. So prio for kill squads typically is the following: fire staffs, healers, and then heavy disruptors. It really can vary between fire staff and healers, honestly, because you don't necessarily need to just focus fucking give me something good. Okay, that's fine. You want to kill fire staffs because that's a lot of their output damage. Yeah, there are disruptors that are a little scary with like great swords and stuff like that, but like you can easily just like dance around great swords and dance around a lot of these spear players. Like even jumping out of just like somebody's perforate like will save your life sometimes. So that's something to think about when it comes to like watching your stand management. Like jumping actually does save you a majority of the time.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to your fire staffs, yeah, you guys use these to apply pressure. I would say that like for instance, you guys are winning with group 8, like group 8 is fucking hard winning the inner lane and they want to step up. You allow group 8 to step up by themselves, fire staffs, but you need to work with your healers to listening to where the comms are coming from Hibby. If Hibby's calling a crash top left, all 4 of you guys better be fucking putting your fucking meteor showers down on that top left. Because that top left...
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was like, even if you don't agree with the call, like you have to commit and do what he's saying.
Yeah, that's a huge thing with armies as well, guys. Like, so I've called for Outcast for 3 months now, and I've lost with them plenty of times. Like, I've lost with them a lot of times, and one of the things that you'll realize is that they've lost a little bit of faith in me as a caller, and that's something that happens. You have, like, I know Hibby gets negative. I know that we have sometimes negative comms. Like, you guys still need to follow the shot callers calls no matter what, because it's going to help you guys either find success or not find success. But you can't stray away from the guy. Like, you have to respect his calls and follow them no matter what.
No
Plus, it's easier
egoing.
for us. It's a little easier for us to be like, okay, yeah, we all followed you, and it didn't work, so let's try something else. If we're not all doing it, then we don't get to have that conversation.
Correct. Yeah, it's better to follow. It's better to follow. Like, Moxie and Kenji both know. Like, I have terrible, or I guess a lot of people in this army know that I have terrible comms sometimes. Like, it happens. Like, you gotta still just put your never's too for sure. You gotta have faith in your shot caller, and like, I think that's why a lot of these guys still like playing with me, is because like there's room for improvement. There's room for Hibby to try to keep those plays up and keep the momentum up, and you guys have to just support him as an army to doing so. Like, if we don't do that, then that's just not beneficial for anybody. Like, that's just how the army gets farmed harder. So
I have a
keep that in
question.
mind. Yes, please.
Can you go over what you want every single like quad or like group especially to do, depending on what the tech is at? So if it's at like 20%, 30%, 40, going up, can you explain to the army how to?
How about you
how we
explain
should be
it,
playing?
Pebbles, and let me
Oh my
drink
God,
some
it's
hot
been a
tea.
minute
Wait
since
a
I heard that
second.
voice.
What the
Come
heck
on,
is the
Pebbles.
question?
Pebbles.
Pebbles, keep
You-
talking because I'm almost there.
Pebbles,
Just take me home, Daddy.
caller.
Yeah, here we go.
Pebbles,
Sorry.
please.
What?
Please, just talk about it. Talk about it for a second. Let me sip some hot tea, because I have to call another war in like 30 minutes here, and I'm gonna lose my fucking, or an hour, and I'm gonna lose my voice.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so essentially the whole thought process on point tick is obviously your VG and IG should be stepping to try to take space only when it's up to like a certain tick. If there's a lot of players on the point, so like for example like Bruiser or any of that type of stuff, and they're impacting as much as they can, then you guys can start stepping at that point. Do not step on point if you're a light armored player before getting tick. That is like a big thing. Unless your shot caller is asking you to do so. Once the point tick starts getting up any higher, above like 50-60%, that's where everybody who's looking to commit to point and paying attention to where there's free spots on point. In all reality, it shouldn't be up to your shot caller to tell you where to step or when to step. You guys should incoherently in your head understand or know that when the point tick's getting high, you need to be tiptoeing or stepping at some point, whether you're a light player or not. And then, so kill squads, he did say what we used to do, right? What we used to do back in the day is impact our like kill squad fights, and then somehow try to get into that healer pocket and try to disrupt healers or kill healers. That is not what's happening anymore. We do not do that anymore. In almost every high tier war, you're not going to see any healers die. So at that point, once you guys do take space that you're supposed to take, for example, on the C point, if we're looking at Insanity stream, and you would see on C point that the kill squads took space, you guys are holding that space instead of only just holding that space, which is what your job is supposed to be, instead of trying to go into the road and disrupt healers or try to look at healers or look at Watson. I don't give a fuck who it is. You guys should be somehow impacting point by either dropping your abilities on top of point whenever the shot caller tells you to, or whenever they're calling for crashes, or trying to clear out that inner lane so that those players are out of that position. So that they are not impacting point. Quads, obviously, what you guys are supposed to be doing, depending on the tick, is if there's no tick, you guys are holding space. When it's ticking, when the point is actually going up, and you'll physically see that going on the map, that is when the army, whoever's ticking it, can just hold space and they can wait for a crash. If you are not ticking the point, then you need to crash the point at some point. If the shot caller does not crash the point, you're going to lose the point, like just by doing nothing, right? So somebody has to do something. There's a difference between initiating a crash, and there's a difference between counter crashing,
And
right?
and one of the cool things is like, so in the higher tier wars, guys,
Yeah.
like when it comes to like crashing, like don't be scared to use your abilities. Like, don't feel like you have to hold your grab the whole time. Don't feel like you have to hold your shockwave or your armor breaker the whole time. Use all of your cooldowns. But when Hibby's saying like we're gonna be looking for a crash here, or we're gonna be counting down here soon, or like we're looking in 5, like just make sure that you're farming your stacks with your axe and making sure that you're really ready to like posture up. So like for example, like let me just do this. So like 5, 3, 4, 6, 1 and 2 are up here. So say we're getting pressured on. Oh, let's back up, Pebs, because we need to understand what the quads need to be doing when it comes to this point period. One of the things that we really want to understand is, oh my god, that's a horrible 8.
The hell?
So like group 8, like you're not needing to necessarily step towards point. Like you have your own lanes that you guys are going to be wanting to travel and work in. Like so like there's an inner lane, there's an outer lane, there's the point lanes, there's like different areas around the point. Like group 8, like you're supposed to be creating pressure here and trying to win past this midway point. Like this is the flag here and the X or the cross. Like you guys are trying to still win step that area. The fact that you guys have 4 fire staffs supporting you, like don't worry about like being too scared here, because it's also the responsibility of your left quads to walk you in before we even get to that point. So like I was saying, like when we reset and we're working this point, guys, like it's responsibility of not only these 4 fire staffs now, but 3, 4, 5 to really walk you into this area. Don't allow anybody to live behind you. You guys have literally half the army literally supporting you. So like working into these areas as the quads is supposed to provide that space and that breathing room for groups 8 and 9 to step up. So focus these people on the road. Make sure that they're going to die if they are playing out of position. Like a lot of these bruisers in these 3 groups can 3-shot somebody with armor breakers, can 3-shot somebody with grav wells. But make sure you're playing for your lives and you're playing responsible in that area. Really communicating with your bruisers is going to be important. So like, for example, okay, so group 5 is now pushing up. Group 5 is stepping up. Group 4 is stepping up. Group 3 is stepping up. Like you guys are walking these guys in. So group 8 is walking in with you. And then you guys eventually start defaulting to your quads. Like you guys are eventually starting to step. And that's what you want to do. The main thing that Hibby likes to do off the rip when we do finally have like presence around this point and we finally are stepping up and we are walking our kill squads in, there's a fight. The main thing that Hibby wants to do is crash on this bottom left. So like he'll crash bottom left 99% of the time. Most callers will crash this bottom left area 99% of the time off the rip. And we need to be set up for it whenever we get to that. So 5's up here. Group 3 is fighting for their lives down here. Group 4 is here. Group 6 is up here. Groups 1 and 2 are up here. When it comes to Hibby's crashes, you want to be postured up properly. Hibby tells you we're going to be looking for a crash soon. You guys need to be posturing up correctly and building your stacks. And there's different ways to angle it. So they have like 6 enemies about to crash. Say they're walking around the point. They finally see it. They want to crash on bottom left. Hibby wants to crash on bottom left. They have players stepping into this. It's your job to make sure that if you are here, group 3, that you cleanse and get the fuck out of there. Like, you don't have to necessarily cleanse, but make sure that you are jumping through ice walls. Make sure you're trying to get yourself out for an angle to lock those idiots back down. And that's what you want to do, because that's going to be something that's really going to help you. So they finally crash. They kill group 3. We're fucked. We don't have anybody in this bottom left quad. But the other quads are living in their areas. Group 6, I want you stepping left. Group 4, I want you stepping inner a little bit. And groups 1 and 2, I want you coming down. Because when you guys come down and posture up for angles on this, group 5, you can even step out. Because if our kill squads are here, like, they're not going to run into Oppo. They're not going to be like, all right, I'm going to just take this free space and run away from their recrash. Group 8 and the fire staffs will be here. So fire staffs are down here, right? Fire staffs times 4. Like, they're not going to walk freely out here, guys. We want to make sure that we are posturing up so we can create angles to actually go into them. Even group 4 can step down here if they need to. And that's when group 2 and group 6 can even step downward if they want to. It's all about the angle that you get in to throw your grav walls into this fucking clump and create as big of a pocket as you can so they get stuck. And that's when your deados go off. That's when you recollapse. That's when you get those fucking huge blowups. There's a really significant way of doing it, and you guys just need to make sure that you guys listen to Hibby when he's calling that. If you don't have grav, like you threw your grav on top of point, like just walk in with a fucking shockwave, armor breaker, and deado all at the same time. Literally, it will kill 50% of the people, or it will kill like 100% of the people that are still stuck in that crash. So when it comes to your quads on this last point, though, like there's significant things that you guys need to be doing. 6 and 4, like you guys are pretty much just like going to get hard focused a lot of the time, but so will my left quads. This quad right here is one of the hardest quads to play in the game. 3 and 5 are literally the main support for our group 8 because they are supposed to step outer and back in when the point is ticking and when the point's not ticking. If the point's not ticking and group 8's back here, like group 3, you need to be assisting these guys down here. Group 5, you need to be assisting these guys up here if they're actually starting to push, because the kill potential with Bruiser stepping into that is significantly higher than most. So you have to think about it in the sense that we're plussing into a 5v5 and we're giving them like 3 more bodies to fuck them up. Like it will be significantly impacting the point, because the main way you win point is by getting 3 fucking sections taken over where they can't play in. And when it comes to that, that comes with the crashes. So you have to think about that, but it also comes with our kill squad potential. Like group 8's finally pushed up. Group 8 is fucking winning. 9 is fucking hard winning. Like they're impacting the back line. Like it's going to cause a ripple effect to the army. Their healers are going to have to run way farther away from their boys that are on this left side, where 1 and 2, 3 and 5, group 6 is still staying and holding their space, group 4 is still staying and holding their space, right? It's going to make it a lot harder for their healers to step. And when it comes to your top quads 5 and 6, don't waste your Path of Destinies on point. If you guys are Path of Destinying the point, you're literally trolling. Throw your Path of Destinies out to the road. 3 and 4, throw your Path of Destinies out of the fucking sides. One Path of Destiny can disrupt a group 8 fight going on and literally secure you a kill. Like, you'd be surprised. This is no bueno. No bueno.
I think that's something that we saw a lot of, right? Is all the Path of Destinies were going inward.
Correct. That's just a pad. Like, if you guys want a pad and just, like, make your score line look pretty, like, that's what it is. Give me a sec. Hold on.
It fucks up healers casting too.
It does. It disrupts
time.
healers a bunch, and it, like, causes them to miss a cast. And that can be a change of a fight on point, guys. Like, think about it in that sense. Like,
Well, that, and if they get hit a little bit, it ruins their diamond proc. They're not going to heal for as much.
exactly. Like, it's significant, more significant to Path of Destiny a healer than it is to Path of Destiny the point. Because you have to think, bruisers are running strike conditioning. Bruisers are running slash conditioning. Like, it's so much better to do it around the point and off the point. Same thing goes with IGVGs. Like, yeah, you can throw your ice showers on point all day, but like, you know for a fact healers aren't running fucking ice resist. Like, throw it off point, cause them to have damage on this proc go away. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yeah, that's actually something me and our AoE Claire were talking about. Like when I was playing IGVG in a different server, she was talking about how she would just throw her Oblivion underneath the other servers. Other healers, and just take away that diamond. So I started doing it, and I had way more. It was way more effective when I didn't need it on the point.
Yeah, if I'm running VG, they're not allowed to stand next to me. I will ruin their diamond proc 100%.
Yeah, because people are focusing you. They know you're the AoE, even with the name change, Claire.
No, but even other healers that like stand near me, like I don't like to let them stand near me. Like I zone them out of our area by dropping an Oblivion under them, so they're
Also,
taking damage and it's ruining their heals. So.
Side note, for the fire staffs that are playing quads, if you are in here, just tell me what you use as your offhand. Do you guys use ice gauntlets? Do you guys use rapiers? What do you guys use? Kenji, give me an example.
Ice gauntlets.
I use Fire Staff IG. Good
Okay.
deep freeze.
Now, one of the things that I've seen, the meta with y'all's wars is definitely different than other armies because your fire staffs are technically supporting Group 8, right? So like that's something that is different, but it's something that you guys can still take advantage of when it comes to really supporting your Group 8 and supporting your healers. So for example, like a lot of you guys like to live on bottom of point. This is something that is definitely tougher in the meta with whole W because half the time their fucking top quads, their fucking team is just pushing you guys. So it causes you guys to get under a little bit of pressure, it gets you guys under panic. Like, I don't want you guys living down here anymore. If you have free space, Group 8's pushed up. Like, yeah, you can step to the bottom left a little bit. I saw Astra stepping to bottom left a little bit. But just remember, like, Group 7's fighting off in fucking Narnia. Like, up on the ramparts up here. Like, you see that? Like, you guys have all this free space to really step here, and your heals will still reach that far side of the point. So, like, don't be scared to use your heals and actually, like, step around the point. When we're heavy ticking, like we were the other night with Hibby and with everybody, like, that's something that you guys can consider too, is that one bruiser is not going to kill you if you touch your toes. Like, that's something that I always toot and supple is like, give me some toes, healers, give me some toes, because you want to be able to get that tick going even harder than it already is. Like, one bruiser might shockwave you, but you know you have a roll. You know you have your dodges. Like, just don't burn them on everything. You can actually jump through shockwaves. Like, I don't know if a lot of you know that. Like, you can jump through shockwaves sometimes. Like, I was doing it earlier today, and it was fucking wild. And I was like, wait, what the fuck? Like, you can actually jump through those things? Like, it's surprising with what you can do. So, like, don't be scared to really, like, step onto the point where there's not any pressure. So, like, everybody's fucking balled up over here. Like, just throw your toes on. Like, throw your toes on wherever you can find that little bit of space. Yeah, it's scary. They might crash on you. You have an evade. You have a riposte. You have a flashe to get out. Like, you know what you're doing in regards to that. So, like,
I've been
just keep that in
told.
mind.
I've been told to cleanse, get in on point. If it's pressure, get off, then come back in, like tiptoe on and off,
Yeah.
if it's risky.
Yeah, and
if it's free, then stay on.
Yeah.
for sure. Like-
Also, just one thing I would like to interject here. Sometimes Hibby calls for healers to step if it's safe. Make sure you're checking. Like, use your best judgment there. Like, he doesn't always know. Like, he's calling if it's safe, not necessarily that it is 100% safe. Because I've seen some healers stepping on at times where it actually wasn't safe for them to do so, and it just put pressure on them. And maybe they didn't die, but their groups might have died because they weren't able to heal them because they were defending instead. So just make sure you're looking and, you know, using your brain. Is this actually safe for me? Like, and, you know, that'll get easier to tell when that is as you get more experience. But just something to think about.
I have a question.
For sure.
So for top quads with that reset, what does that look like? Because we've seen, like, in an ideal world, the bottom reset. So
Yeah,
if
for
we're
sure.
above on in top quads, what does that look like ideally?
No, I got you, NJ. So, all right. So Hibby calls some interesting calls when it comes to, like, what our top quads are doing. So, like, if he's calling for our full roads to, or us to, like, full split onto the road and, like, sort of do it, like, bottom quads should be still stepping towards bottom because 8, 9, 10 are just gonna get pillaged if we don't assist them walk this. Like, no matter what, our bottom quads need to be helping this step up. So, like, this needs to be working as, like, a tight unit almost, like 8, 3, 4 should be working as a tight unit no matter what, as well as 9 and 10. Like, 10's already off in Narnia. Like, 10 wide fight, you don't necessarily have to. Oh my god, Taco, you fuck. Sorry guys, he just sent me a picture of, like, fucking feet, and he knows I hate feet. So, like, anyway.
You said to give you toes.
Yes, thank you, Taco.
Give you
So, like, when it comes to the top groups, like, yeah, your responsibility is to work as a Zerg and eventually bring it to point. Like, the main thing that we want to do is to make sure that our kill squads are walked in and that we're applying point pressure. We're getting ready to set up for that last point, right? That's what those top quads want to do. So if he's telling both top quads to still step up here, 3-4 or the bottom quads and group 8 still need to be working together to applying that pressure to the bottom so we can all set up. We need the entire army to set up before we even, sorry, this goes this way. We need the entire army to set up before we can even start thinking about crashing an uptick. If we don't have an oppo, we don't have an army, because your oppo is going to be just as impactful to the point if we're looking to crash. So like group 8 is going to group 8 is literally going to be needed for that point pressure, because if we're not winning this right here, guys, like, you know what they're doing? They're looking at point. They're making that impact on point. We have to walk them in always. Like, hold hands with group 8 bottom quads. Hold hands with group 8 and literally fire staffs hold hands with group 8 and 4 and 3 and look for picks. Like, look for picks on this road. They like to push out like out here, and it's just like, what the fuck? Like, I just watched like 3 of our bruisers just walk up to point so we could set up for point pressure. Like, these guys are going to like fucking shove 8 and 9 out. They're gonna shove our fire staffs out, and then the point's gonna get pillaged because they just turn around and go crash on all our boys and girls. Sorry. So like, we have to be effective with our walk, and they thems, and it's because I'm an it. So like, make sure that we're really walking that point pressure in. If we don't do that, like, we're not going to be successful with starting the uptick. We're not going to be successful with really being able to blow up the clumps. Correct. It pillages the army, because if our top quads are already on point and like group 8's not even here yet, and our 1, 2, 5, 6 are already on point, and 3 and 4 are stuck down here, and they're still fighting people on our road.
Inner lane will be screwed.
Well, not only our inner lane will be screwed, our entire point will be screwed, because like these 4 groups will still have more people on them than group 8, group 3, and group 4. I mean, there's a point where you want to focus somebody and you don't want to focus somebody, and that's just like sort of reading it like, okay, there's one fucking bozo named Watson Hood out here, like, just doing dumb shit. Like, just ignore Watson and make sure that you're still pressuring. Like, if you see a healers, like, that's money. Like, fire staffs, you need to be on a healer if they're stepping in this fucking area instantly. Like, it shouldn't even be a question. Same with group 8. Like, group 3, group 4, if you see a healer, throw a fucking graph. Like, fuck it. Like, just make sure you're applying that pressure so they can't keep living there, because we want to make sure that 5, 6, 1, and 2 are setting up. 5, 6, 1, and 2, the main things that you guys are looking to do is get to point, but you're also playing your life. So if you guys aren't holding this bonfire area right, and you guys are still just walking in without like clearing the space, like, where the fuck are your healers going to go? Like, you need to make sure that your healers are able to at least step up and step around this area so we can actually start creating that pressure. Because we want to make sure that we actually are able to live and we are able to survive, so we can finally get that crash going and finally start the tick. And you guys did a good job of that. You guys actually really created like heavy tick pressure multiple times before the other night. It's just that like kill squads were pillaged. So like in turn, like, say the fire staffs in group 8 aren't even here anymore. Like, they're stuck back here. Like, you know group 3 is gonna die. You know group 5 is gonna die. You know all of our healers that are back here in our road just hanging out, like, they're gonna get pressured. And they're gonna have to run away. Like, that's not good. Like, we don't want that to happen to our army. So we want to make sure that we're really doing that. Fire staffs, when you guys are working with group 8, like, I would almost say that it's 4 fire staffs and 1 DPS, right? Or is it 3 fire staffs and 1 DPS, right?
It's 4.
Okay, so we have the group 11, this is group 12, right? Like, once you guys start seeing people out here, like, it's your job to really try to clean that up. I think that should be the best responsibility for those groups. Like, play your lives, but also make sure that group 8, group 3, and group 4 are walking you in. Something I always recommend, side note, there's a oh yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, wait, before you go on. So the only problem, so what you just said about fire staffs cleaning up the back is that when I watch the POV of the fire staffs and they're getting harassed and they're, using abilities on that back, and then I look at Brokuda's POV, and he's just nuking point, and you just see all our bruisers getting deleted.
Mhm.
Where's the balance between the two?
So that's
'Cause sometimes
that's the difference between meta and not meta, and that's sort of something that I see with this army. You guys are running off a little bit of a different meta. So like when it comes to crashes, when it comes to point, like their fire staffs are just controlling the point, and that's something that we sort of might need to change with you guys. Like, yeah, there should be +2s going in with group 8, like the left quads, like 3 and 5. Your DPS should be going in with group 8, but like there should be always designated 2 fire staffs to look at point and just blow it up. Like you need to be raining your meteor showers constantly on the quads that they're playing in. Do not allow them to live for free. Like the fire staffs in the meta that I play with and the armies I play with, they sit bottom right. Like they just hang out here and they're just fucking melting this, melting this, and melting this. Yeah, sometimes they'll throw their abilities up here when there's a crash, but like they're melting 3 quads typically. And that's how a lot of point pressure is applied, is by through those fire staffs. So you have to keep that in mind. I even know somebody who's a quad bow that literally plays quad DPS, and he's a bow and he just sits back here and he just looks for picks on bruisers all over point. I know you guys
Muskets
don't have
do the same thing.
Yeah, muskets do the exact same thing. What's his name? Who was the musket in their army the other night?
Mutual touching.
Yeah, Mutual was literally farming you guys because he was just fucking shooter stance on the back rocks and just shooting whoever was low health bars. So,
Yeah,
like, you guys
Spitfire
have-
was saying that he was focusing him, and he was like, "What the fuck
Yeah.
about it?"
Yeah,
He had
so like
slow too, so everyone
that's-
who got hit was fucked.
that's sort of the responsibility of those DPS. Like, oh yeah, I know you brought up musket because you want to play musket, Pebble. I know you.
That's true.
Oh, don't even lie. Anyway, so like, yeah, like the fire staffs are responsible for the point, but like, if you hear a clump going off, like hippies crash, bottom left in 3, bottom left in 2, bottom left now, bottom left now, bottom left now, like throw a fucking meteor shower down and instantly fireball and cook their asses because they are gonna die. All of our fucking bruisers are crashing. It's going to make more significance to the point. When it comes to declumping for the bruisers as well, keep this in mind, guys. Like, if you're getting crashed on, like, don't be scared to play space, but be aware of your surroundings. So, say, oh wait, this is backwards. This is 3. This is 5. This is 6. This is 4. So say like group 4 is assisting group 3 over here, group 5 is assisting group 3 down here, and this is a big ass ball of us. Like, you know they're going to be coming in through here. You know they're already stepping on top of a point because they want to make sure that their healers are stepping to down tick. Like, you guys need to find the best way out. Sometimes group 8 is all the way back here. This is not the best way out. Top of point is not the best way out. Sometimes you can sneak by flag and get out, which is okay. Sometimes you guys can sneak to the right, and that's okay. Sometimes you guys can even step like even to like off bottom, and that's sometimes okay. But just know they're living in this area on top of point, and they're always going to be contesting you. So you need to be aware of that bottom quads. You need to make sure that if you are going to be playing in these bottom quads, that you're actually still stepping and holding the line. Because like if there's nobody down here, if nobody's living down here, groups 3 and 4 are not down here, and they're stepping top, like they're gonna have to be forced to come to top. Like you guys are contesting as a Zerg and dogging individual players down as a Zerg, and they're going to have to step back up and really contest y'all because that gives us free space to step down here. You know, does that make sense to everybody for bottom quads? Cool, sounds good, guys. Thanks. No response.
That's really
Yes, sir.
Wait, so real quick. So is it best for us to split up our fire staff? So like I really want to get the full understanding of
So
our fire staff.
real fast. Also, I think with the fire staffs like ours, I think another reason we're doing this is because all of our groups aren't doing what they're supposed to, at least not fully. And I think if we are, that's actually going to help them as well. So I mean,
Yeah, okay. Because I just like when I watch it, I'm like, dude, I am so grateful I am not a fire staff for blame for tropical because it's brutal from their POV.
So one of the things about like that's different between y'all's meta and somebody else's is like there's 5 DPS. We don't run a VGIG anymore in group 2. We run a flail VG. We run an ice gauntlet. So like groups 1 is like a bruiser, a tank, a flail IG, and then your AoE, and then your regular healer. Group 2 is 2 bruisers, a flail VG, a DPS, and a healer. And so that's something that's different between y'all's groups. That's something that you guys can consider going forward when it comes to your army, because it might help you guys a little bit more, was having that +5 rather than +4. But overall, when it comes to this, like, so for example, this is like an outcast opening. So we actually send +3 over to fucking A with group 7. So that's usually group 5's quad DPS. That's group 6's DPS. And it's usually group 2's DPS that goes over here with this +3. 3 and 4's DPS, your responsibility is to work with group 8. So it's sort of the same concept, right? Does that make sense to you guys? Like, it's sort of the same concept where they're trying to apply that kill squad pressure, but they're also looking at point to make sure that it's getting nuked. Like, you don't have to use all of your abilities on kill squad. You can keep that thought process and point. So when it comes to splits, like, we leave all 5 of our quad DPS on B to making sure that we're living our life. So that's something that we always do. And then we don't even have a fucking last point phase for this war. So yeah, like usually the +3s are just looking at point for us, or it's usually +2 looking at point, and then 2+ working with group 8. And then there's 2 designated fire staffs to point at all times. Does that make sense? That's how we do it with most metas nowadays.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Because these 2 are literally going to be pumping. And I always recommend, this is something that I recommend to some people who are open to it. There's a guy in Pumpers who is named Pump Me Please. He's a fire staff, like, abuser. Like, this guy is, like, insanely cracked. He doesn't even run any conditioning whatsoever. He just runs fucking full damage. He uses refreshing. He uses enchanted ward. Or, like, ice harnessing, enchanted ward, refreshing. And literally, like, he can live all day long. He actually uses ice pylon. So this is sort of like some weird tech that a lot of people don't know about, but like ice pylons are really significant for frosted areas and slowing people down. Like if somebody's within the distance of your ice pylon and it's attacking that person, like it will actually have it. There's actually a part of the tree where it causes the person to get like extremely slowed. So like these 2 fire staffs, considering pylon, could actually work out really well because it doesn't only just protect the fire staffs, it protects our healers. So that's something that you have to think about when it comes to that. It doesn't mean that 2 people need to run it. It doesn't mean that 1 person needs to run it, but it's something that you could consider with your backline getting fucked all the time. You know? Does that make sense, y'all?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, ma'am.
No.
Why? Why, Nevers?
Just because fuck you, that's why. Sorry.
I nevers.
Hey, baby.
Yo,
Pebbles is fucking blushing right now.
I am.
Um,
You can't see it though.
So, all right. So let's talk points. So we're getting set up. We finally have gotten that push out. Our group 8 is fucking here. We're fucking vibing. We're actually getting towards the point, guys. Like we're set up with our quads. We fucking know what we're doing. Like 5, 6, 1, and 2 are fucking hard stepping top. Group 3 and 4, they're slowly making their way there and like starting to finally step up. We see, oh shit, Group 8's finally getting pushed behind this back line. Like they're not stepping up here, right? Group 8's up here, so just ignore this other 8, right? Oh my god, this eraser's amazing. So Group 8 just got kills. They got killed by multiple people. Multiple people of theirs are dying. Like Group 9 is pretty close, but like Group 9 starting to like realize, and they're starting to get +1 into from Group 8. Like 3 and 5, Hibby will tell you guys. Well, I don't know if Hibby really calls to step to Oppo, but you guys have the opportunity to really make that impact, and that's how kill squads are won with Group 8. If Group 9 is fucking, it's like a snowball effect. It's a snowball effect.
Now that I think about it, I don't think he does that. I
He
don't think
doesn't.
pulls
He
his
doesn't
quads
at all.
off to-
He doesn't
yeah.
at all. So like that's something that I think Hibby needs to consider when it comes to going forward. Is that like you guys as left quads need to recognize this. If Group 8 is not winning and you see a bunch of fucking enemies like right here, like you guys can step off into this, and it will actually significantly help Group 8. So if Group 8 winds up getting a couple of picks, or you guys wind up getting a couple of picks here, like Group 8 can even help Group 9, or Group 8 can even work to their back road. It really just depends on what that looks like when it comes to making sure that these fights are going up properly. And when you guys get those picks, or you guys are really applying that pressure, it still allows Group 8 to push up, and it causes their healers to get even more into a pinch. So that's something that you have to consider as left quads. Left quads are some of the hardest positions to play in the game right now. And on defense, it's right quads, so it's the same thing. But that's what a lot of Watson and their army was doing. That's what a lot of different armies do, is they'll literally just send their quads into the Oppo, so the kill squads can't win. I had a war tonight where I was hard losing Oppo the entire fucking time, and the only reason why we won is because I had Impunity and a couple of other bruisers really step out hard. Like they were literally living in Oppo trying to create space for our kill squads to get back up. And it's significant. Trust me, it's very significant. So you guys need to start recognizing this. I don't mind working with bruisers and talking it through with them and sort of looking at their VODs and seeing how they can sort of adjust for that. But these two quads are like literally some of the most important fucking parts of winning a point tick. So just keep that in mind. Group 4, Group 6. I mean, working weak side is always a tough process, especially if our Group 7 is lost. Like, you guys don't have any other really support. But, like, Hibby needs to be pulling 1 and 2 accordingly, whether it's left, whether it's right, whether it's bottom, whether it's top. Like, we need to hard step top because we have the numbers advantage always in top. 5, 6, 1, 2. That's fucking 8 bruisers, guys. Like, just work together. If Hibby's like, oh, look at blah, blah, blah on top, like, throw a fucking grab well. Like, you catch a couple people, like, that's something that happens a lot, too, is baiting. Like, you guys got to be careful of baiting, because if they throw, like, 3 grab walls on the spot, and Hibby will think it's a crash, and Hibby will go recrash, in X amount of time, like, just be cautious of that. But, like, always listen to Hibby's calls no matter what. If you're gonna die, just die. Like, it just happens sometimes. I'm trying to think of what else.
Oh, random question.
Yeah.
If you have it set up, like say I'm in Group 5 and I'm on the left hand side of C, but what happens if we accidentally take C and we have to go take A? Do we typically then flip?
Yep. So think
side
about it.
so that I'm staying the strong side.
Think about it in the sense of where the point is. So, like, if we're looking at the map, right? So this is A point. This is C point. Whatever side is outer, that is where your 8, 9, 10 go. No matter what. 8, 9, 10 always play outer. Group 7 and Group 8 always play inner. Because if you think about it, guys, or no, sorry. Group 7 always plays inner, or weak side. 8, 9, 10. So this would be 8, 9, 10.
And then what about the quads?
Quads should still say the same way. Like, so this should be 5 on
so
top of. Correct.
So you would want, okay.
Yeah, you don't flip your quads. If you flip the entire fucking army, everybody's going to get confused on where they're needing to play. Like, that's just too much. So just flip your fucking kill squads.
Yeah, because I think what happened, like, we had a war where we did go to A, and yeah, it did confuse, but then at the same time, it was more of like, now all of a sudden 6 is playing a completely different angle during the pushes, and 5 is doing a different angle, so then it's like, oh, we have to like refigure out
Rethink how you're playing.
pushing.
Yeah, I mean, you guys sort of understand what I'm talking about when it comes to that weak side winning. If we win weak side, or if we win Oppo, like, it just makes this so much more significant for us. And Group 8 can look at point, Group 9 can look at the road, Group 10 can look at the road. Like, it's a snowball effect, like I was talking about. Like, it doesn't matter what point you're on. Like, just think of your main ball as sort of being the same thing over here. You don't need to flip your main ball because it will fucking confuse everybody and they'll not know what they're doing. So just make sure that you remember that as a main ball. Like, you guys are going to be working together on doing that. Let's see. Oh, point tick. So typically with point, you have to have 3 fucking quads to really actually start winning point harder. So say Hibby called a crash on top left, and we fucking hard one top left. Like, our top quads are still stepping top, and they're dogging people. So, like, Group 6 is still dogging, Group 5 is still dogging, Group 1 and 2 are still dogging up here. Like, Group 4, you guys have just left the crash, and you're thinking about living back in your quad. Don't do it. Like, if we have the numbers... Oh, what the fuck? Sorry. Fucking hair got in my eye. If somebody... if we wind up getting into this, like, that's the thing. Like, we want to create that pressure. So, he called a crash up here. We won the hard crash. Group 3 needs to be stepping up and working this as well. Group 4 needs to be stepping up and working this as well, so we get that kill potential. Hibby may call you guys into different quads. He may call you down to the bottom. He may call you into one of those quads, but like, either way, you're still creating pressure. Don't ever think that. Don't ever be scared of stepping on point too long. I mean, a lot of you bruisers like to sort of like walk, like you guys aren't swinging. Like, understand Grit Ward is your best friend. If you're not running Grit Ward, you are trolling. Grit Ward mitigates so much fucking damage. It allows you to survive. It allows you to swing yourself out of areas if you need to get out of those areas. So just keep that in mind. It's super important. But we have to win 3 sections of the actual point to actually get the full tick we need. And that's why I tell people to full step top, because healer stepping can definitely impact a war strong. But yeah, stepping into that oppo also causes that snowball effect to winning point, because it allows group 8 to look at a point, allows the group 9 to even get somebody plussed into their group if they want to, like, and then in turn that just leads to us taking the road. So keep that in mind, guys. That's pretty much it for me on thinking about like how to significantly impact point. Does anybody have any specific class questions? Does anybody have any specific questions about point play, recognizing when to take space, when not to take space?
Yeah.
Can you explain as a bruiser how or when to stay on point and when not to stay on point, or when you want, like, Hibby wants us to stay on point essentially?
I mean,
So
if
like,
you're surrounded,
if they just crashed on us and we declumped and we're calling for a recrash, do we stay in that recrash or do we get off immediately, declump off point?
are you in the crash, or are you?
So they just
out of the
crashed on
crash?
us, right? So they don't have deados, they don't have abilities up, and we just recrashed on it. Do we stay in that clump and stay on point to ticket, or do we get off?
If you guys are swiping through a crash, it really depends on what the count looks like. So like, say group 3 got crashed on, group 5, 1 and 2 are still up. Maybe group 4 got crashed on too. So group 4 and group 3 are both fucking dead. And we fucking have 4 groups up. We decide we want to angle in. We go for a recrash, right? If we don't see their health bars blowing up and they're still standing there, do not fucking keep swinging through this shit. Do not fucking just sit there with your fucking hammer. Try to take space back. Like, yeah, they took this space, but like, you guys still need to be taking your space. Think about it as your quads. Like, you still need to be taking your space, but you need to be working together as a Zerg. Like, if you're swinging a couple times after a crash, like, and they're all still up in this area, you're gonna fucking die. Like, it's definitely not good. Does that make is that sort of what you were looking for, Pebble?
Yeah, essentially.
What else?
Say that we're clumped up at top and we're, you know, we're swinging away at like 1 or 2 bruisers and we're getting kills, but then how do we make sure that we don't get crashed on and, you know, lose a
So
bunch of people?
does Hibby call playing loose a lot? Like, try to play loose?
No.
No.
Not that much.
No.
Okay, so you guys are gonna have to think about it in your own brains. Like, just think about it like, if we're heavy stepping top with this many people, they're gonna want to look to crash. So say 1 and 2 are stepping over to left with group 5. Like, you guys need to be aware of the number count of how many people are fucking stacked on top of you. Like, if you're surrounded in a sea of blue and there's no reds, then you better get the fuck out of there because you know something's coming for you. Group 5 can step off. Group 1 can step to the road. Group 2 can step to the road. Don't be scared of their road, guys. If you're popping your fire pots on cooldown, you guys should be at least able to survive the road. It's super important for that. Like, that's just something that I recommend. Like, if you're not able to survive on their road and you're trying to work through that, like, I would like to look at your VOD with you and sort of discuss what that would look like. And sort of talk to you about how to survive like that. So it's definitely important for those kind of positionings and understanding that. Oh, how am I gonna make it to this next war?
You're gonna stop being a little bitch.
Bro, I'm so.
So if
tired.
I'm kill
I
squad,
believe in you.
right, and you want us to wrap to take control of Oppo like you normally would,
Mhm.
and we're hard losing during our after our reset, how do you want us to play? Like, what are we
Somebody
supposed
needs
do
to get in main comms and fucking tell Hibby, Group 8 lost. Group 8 lost. We had no support from Group 3 and 4. That will cause Hibby to realize, okay, like, what the fuck? Like, we're not going to be able to do anything here. We might need to reset again. Because if we're getting pillaged out here, guys, like, we shouldn't be. From here on out, like, I want these bottom... If you're a bottom quad with fucking drop, I want you working with Group 8 to walking them in and setting up for this point, guys. You guys just run in on left side and still get fucking pillaged. Like, Group 4, like,
Seriously.
you need to walk these people through. Group 3, you need to walk these people through. Group 5, I even always recommend having 3 quads do it because you guys have so much more kill potential than just walking in with 2 groups. Like, 3 groups of bruisers is actually insane pressure because that's like 25 people in your army walking in, or 25 people in total walking in with group 8 and 9. Even more, maybe
Yeah.
27.
And if you see one of your bruiser friends getting dogged by like 2 spears, don't just walk past them. Like, just support them. Like, 2 spears
Shockwave.
versus 2 bruisers, like, they're gonna fuck off. They're gonna
Yeah,
fall back.
Don't be scared of individual players, but don't also just walk by them. Like, that's something that I saw a lot of.
Yeah,
like,
there was
we
a
just
lot of
walked
it
past them and we
last-
walked a point, so it definitely caused like a ripple effect. And that's
So
how we
if
lost.
we're not if we're not going down like it's the top left quad, if we're not supporting that wraparound on the bottom, what is the objective of that reset for the top quads? Like, depending on what's happening, like if that bottom fight is fucked, should we go down and support there?
No. So if Hibby's calling for top quads and 1 and 2 to stay top, like the main thing about a reset, like something that I want you guys to understand is like you want to hold a line. Always hold a line. Don't ever pressure and push forward until that line Hibby says, "All right, we're walking in. We're walking in." Like, you guys need to be holding the bonfire and supporting your other groups, such as 1 and 2, such as fucking Group 7, Group 3 and 4 need to be supporting Group 8. Like, you guys need to be working with each other to walking in. It can't just be one group.
Yeah, it should
You
be like
all
the
have
2
to-
bottom quads and the top left quad should also be there with them.
Yeah, I
walking.
usually bring bottom quad. I usually bring top left quad up with us typically.
Yeah,
Maybe
because like,
Hibby called for four groups to push into road. He was telling for a lot of groups to push into the road.
Because top left's not gonna have any space either if you don't have oppo control. So it doesn't make sense for them not to help.
Exactly. But yeah, until Hibby says go, you guys don't cross this line. Yeah, look for picks, but don't chase. Don't you fucking dare charge into a fucking clump or charge into a person that's a low health bar. That's literally troll. That's a bad habit to get into. What else, guys? What else? What else kind of questions we have?
What happened if hold W, say like you're playing the kill squad is like fighting, they made it to the halfway line, and hold W just runs into the back of our road? 'Cause it seems like they kind of do that and starts harassing healers, fire staffs. Like, how do we handle that?
Once again, that's like how your fire staffs can put down pylons. So like your 2 fire staffs that are dedicated to point can really work with those pylons. But also, like, if you're a healer and you're living down here the whole time, you're not always doing it right. Like, bring your toes around the point. Group 7's always fighting here, guys. Like, there was so much free space on Bonfire this past war that you guys can just live there. If Group 8 is winning, Like, don't even be scared to step over here. Like, just create space and look for space. As long as your groups are fucking doing what they need to do, you guys will be okay living around that point. Because groups 3 and 4, you don't have to always live in your quad. Don't ever always think that if you're a bottom quad, you have to live down here. This is not like a dedicated area. You don't have to be stuck here the whole fucking time, right? Like, you guys can push off where you guys want to alleviate pressure around the point. You guys can push up to help secure kills with our top quads. If they're getting dogged, like, you need to step up and help your boys. Don't be running away from a full clump. Like, that's super important. You don't want to just, like, fucking walk away from all of that. Because you want to make sure that you're really creating that pressure and really working together to support the point so we can start the uptick, so we have more bodies on, so we secure more kills. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Wait, I actually have a good question. So say
Yeah.
3. So say 3 has pushed up with 5 to the top of point.
Yep.
What do they do next? Because we did have not last war, but the previous war where 3 did push up and stood next to 5, and then they crashed it and killed both 5 and 3 just because we were sitting there just holding the top for too long.
So this is what I always recommend for left quads. Like, no matter what, if you're a left quad, just take a peek over here. If group 8's winning or losing, if group 8's losing, you need to help support it. Like, that's something that always needs to be effectively happening. Group 5 and group 3 need to keep their heads on a swivel, see if our kill squads are winning. If they're not, then apply pressure to it so we can actually keep that pressure up and push forward. If group 3 is up here and they're already fucked and sort of in this area, but group 8's up here and like fucking dogging and like winning the war and like winning the oppo, like declump into oppo. Like, don't be scared to run over here. Don't be scared to run down to your quad. Don't be scared to sometimes run into the road. Like, it's all about like making sure you know how to effectively get out of a clump. If you see too many bodies, you see 5, 3, and 1 up here, and you see 15 or you see 6 of us bruisers standing together, like, you need to recognize that you probably need to step back to your quad or you need to step to oppo. Because you want to play loose. Like, that's something that I always really toot my horn is like, play loose. They have a crash, play loose. They're going to crash, play loose. Like, playing loose can play to oppo or play to wide. Playing loose can have you stepping into another quad. Playing loose can have you stepping towards the flag. Like, it really just depends on where you're trying to alleviate pressure for the army so you don't get pulled into those grabs. The more loose you guys play, the better the angle. Like, think about it in that sense too. Like, oh shit, play loose, guys, play loose. Group 3, or they're looking to crash. They're looking to crash. Oh shit, they're crashing on group 3, but group 5's over here. Group 6 winds up coming down here to help support group 4 because they're looking at this bottom quad and they see that there's a bunch of people here. Like, you all have angles now to really fucking step into this. And like group 5 can like angle this way. Oh, something about IGVGs that's pretty cool as well. If you're on point and you're an IGVG, like, the main way you guys support the point is by locking down fucking clumps. And you guys know how to. How do you guys do it? Is there an IGVG in here that can tell me
Yes.
how to lock down You're not... Pebble,
I
you're
am
only
a
an IGVG in mind games. Shut up. I'm trying
That's
to talk
not
to
true. I'm a bruiser in there. I'm a IGVG for supple or for double.
Yeah, you are now, but you were in the war tonight, baby. Wait, were you in the
No,
war
I
tonight?
was not.
Oh,
But Clay did go over my VODs. But basically, the way that you lock down crashes is using your storm, your scream, or vines. Just make sure you're staggering them between abilities. But that's it. So you basically try to make your way to a position, whichever quad you're in. So if you're top left quad and Insanity's top or bottom left quad, then we're supposed to be showering the clump or the crash respectively on whichever side we're on, so that all those 25% health players trying to get out get stuck. And if you aren't able to make it to the crash, like let's say that the crash is bottom left and I'm all the way on top right, but you see 2 or 3 bruisers coming towards that crash that are enemy bruisers, that you can still vines and you can still scream to slow those bruisers down from getting to that crash. So whatever you can do to like slow people down, you're impacting points somehow by doing that.
And the crazy thing is, guys, Group 8 has an IGVG that IGVG doesn't always have to play with Group 8. So, like, say they're crashing on bottom left. Like, bottom left is the most significantly crashed area in wars, no matter what. It's top right for a defense wars, but like top or bottom left is the most significantly crashed area in wars, no matter what. That's why Group 3 and Group 5 have the hardest jobs. But like Group 8, like if your guys are losing and you hear a crash on bottom left, just ice wall the fuck out of this. Ice wall this Group 4. Ice wall this Group 5. Because eventually they're not going to be able to move. Like they're going to be stuck in that. Some bruisers are smart. Some bruisers know when to really get out of that clump. But if they're crashing this, you know goddamn well they're popping their cleanse spot and getting active. And they're not going to have a cleanse spot to get back out of that shit. So if you're locking them down, like they're going to get hurt. Like they are going to die. So it happens very often. What else? Anybody?
Wait,
Yeah, I
does
got
that group-
Yeah.
Okay, you go.
So as far as Group 8 goes, right, you want to contest inner lane. But I've seen it in a couple wars where even though Group 8's winning inner lane, your bottom quads lose, and they end up back in our road.
Mhm.
Do you want Group 8 to still prio our inner lane, or do you want us to prio backing up and working back to front again?
All right, so let's say Group 3, Group 5 are both dead, right? So now it's just Group 8 with these two little fire staffs. If I see you guys walking this fucking way, you are literally killing the army. You are killing the army by going to our road. The main direction that you guys have opportunities to go to is out here and just backing up. Like, do not bring it to this area. If you are bringing anything to our road, it will literally kill all of our healers, and it will cause a very hard time for them to keep up the people on point. If there's multiple quads dead, like you have to think about it in the sense that, yeah, you guys are starting to get pushed back out of Oppo, but like you need to try to hold your space the best you can without dying. Like that's what doing those light picks will do. That's what doing those healer picks will do. Because if you kill a fucking healer in fucking inner or inner outer lane, like Group 9, Group 8, like you've already won that fight. That's why healers are so significant. That's why fire staffs are so significant, because it's the highest healing output and it's the highest damage output for those fights. And getting those kills will literally help you the most.
Okay.
But if you guys are like hard winning this, so for example, Group 3 and Group 5 hard win these sides, and Group 8's finally pushing up, and we're making an impact up towards ramparts and up towards their road, right? So like if Group 3 and Group 5 are actually working that, like that's something that we can think about. That's what Pebbles was talking about, is that like Group 8 has an opportunity to impact the point at that point, whether it's pushed to their road, whether it's looking at their low. Excuse me, hold on. Let me take a sip of water.
It's 9:20 on time check.
Yeah, no, I'm good. I'm vibing. I could go to 45. I could care less. So like Group 8's winning. These fire staffs right here, you should be impacting point automatically. Group 8, your fire staffs can impact point. Your spears can impact point. Don't be using your sword and shield around the point, Group 8. Like, be using your spears. Bruisers do not run shit for fucking thrust conditioning. Like, you guys should be either pushing their road or pumping the point. It really depends on what you guys are doing, who's leading that Group 8, and what is determined from that. Because that's where your significance is going to come in. Does that make sense, Hammy? Does that sort of go into it?
Yeah.
And then Groups 3 and Group 5, like, you guys hard won this side. Like, step up and even rotate into, like, top left, stuff like that. Like, it will help you guys significantly snowball effect around the point with bruisers and being able to create that pressure. So just keep that in mind.
Question: is there ever a time we want to meteor the healers and the enemy road?
That's a tricky one. What do you think, Pebs? I think impacting the point is more significant than meteoring their healers.
It is if you're trying to take space. So, I mean, that would be the only time. So if there's like nothing crazy happening on point, like no crashes being called or anything like that, for you guys to be looking at point. And Group 8, 9 are trying to press into inner to try to take space, then you guys can start showering the back line to try to get them to back up a little bit so that your disruptors can get a clear shot at them.
Thank you, Senator. It's just about to draw a circle there.
Yeah,
there
so
you go.
meteoring these areas is going to be significant because like they'll step heavy top of point, they'll still be in their road, and making sure that you're really taking control of these areas is like what the army needs to do. Taking control of top of point, taking control of this entire region is how you literally start point uptick because it creates pressure into their healers here. Group 7's getting picks or not getting picks, but they're still looking at these fucking healers because Bigelow's just out there fucking tripping 4 healers at one time. You know? Like that's the thing. Like it's all about creating space, creating uptick, and then getting those crashes done.
Yeah, especially like we're saying, do that first circle. Like if you can limit the healer's space from going over there, like when you limit healer's space, they start making errors and then they'll start messing up. Promise you
Nevers
they
would know
panic.
best because he's a shit dealer.
Yeah,
He
exactly.
retired from
The
healing.
worst healer, trust me. Take away that little pocket right there, and then I just start letting people die immediately.
Exactly.
So the biggest thing is using also your storms. So, like,
Yeah.
the only biggest time just in reality for you guys to be looking at point to impact point is whenever it needs to be happening, like crashes or if you see uptick or anything like that. Other than that, you guys should be trying to hold space or create space using your abilities. So throw your fucking storms off point instead of dropping every single second constantly on point unless it's needed.
Ice storms above point is super significant.
Yeah.
I as a shot caller, like don't do shit for damage. But if I throw a fucking ice storm up here, boobs.
You're still doing
if I
something. Yeah.
if I'm throwing ice storms up here, it's still causing damage to those healers and causing those procs to go off. Like think about that in that sense as well. Like if you're the secondary flail, you're the secondary IG for group 2, or you're an IGVG, like causing, like I wouldn't say everybody, but like group 5 and group 6, like you can throw your ice storms up here. Like this is a good area for your ice storms to go. Healers aren't running fucking ice protection. Yeah, they might be running elemental or elemental aversion, but like you're still providing value by making their healers think and like realize they're taking damage significantly. Cool.
Well, it's more so to just grab space because most of our VGs should be running my gauntlets. So you're not going to do a whole lot of damage, but I can tell you that most healers, if they get a storm on them, they're not going to just sit there and wait for somebody to hit them.
Nope.
So just throw it where you think it's going to literally just create space for healers not to be able to play. Although that's not our goal. Our goal is not to kill healers, right? It's just to try to get the diamond perk off of them, like what Keeks was saying. And yeah.
What else? What else, guys? Pick my brain, please.
How do you
Sounds
feel
like-
about
Go ahead.
pathing point insanity?
Going what?
How do you feel about using Path of Destiny on the point?
I already talked about that.
Didn't we
If
talk
you're
about
fucking-
that?
Oh, I missed
Yeah,
that.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
you missed that. I said if you're
Oh,
pathing
yeah.
point, you're just padding. It's just so troll. Like fucking path off a point. Whether it's to Oppo, whether it's to the fucking bonfire, whether it's to the road with healers, top quads need to be pathing towards healers at all times. Because
Yeah, and
that one,
interlane a lot too.
yeah, that one heal will literally cause you guys to kill somebody. Always.
Yeah,
Dude,
'cause
how am I
someone's
so
always
tired?
interrupting somebody heal their DE.
Ah. Well, that's it for like macro 101 for like what you guys should be doing as your quads. I didn't really talk about 6 and 4 a lot, but like you guys need to be either holding space or trying to take space. Like that's how points won. Like holding your space and taking space. But you guys need to be working together on left and right always. Like I don't even call specific quads anymore. I just call fucking left or right because left and right
Mhm.
both need to be working together to fucking do something. And that's create pressure, create kill value, create potential to kill somebody. Anybody have any questions, concerns, comments? Please do not hesitate to slide into my DMs. If you guys want me to look at your VODs, if you guys want me to work with you on understanding what your job is in the army, like I'm here at y'all's disposal. Like Keeks has been a very good friend of mine. You guys have had me in your company before. I've gotten to understand macro and micro calls and gameplay a lot better than I've ever known it before, and it's I'm just here to help. I want to be significant to you guys, to really helping you guys achieve becoming even more competitive than you guys are now. And I think that this will give you guys an idea and a mindset of what you guys need to be doing as individuals in the army, but also what you guys need to be doing as an army as a whole. And once again, just play loose. Don't get too clumped. Like, have fun. Go hard.
I do have a question that I just thought of. Say
Talk to me.
that okay, so say that we have the line and 3, 4, 5, 8, you know, we start pushing into the bot area and we get I went like we get stuck. Like we're not making how do we know when to just sit there and fight and push? Because you know there might be a chance that we'll like push into that area, but we won't get any kills. But I get nervous that the army will just stop and we'll just be fighting off the road.
So, if it's to the point where like you want to think about it as like so the quads. So think about it as the quads, right? So there's that middle line with the point. Think about that road as just like extending all the way down. Like think about this extending all the way out and around. Think about it a little bit harder than that because the middle of the point usually lines up with bonfire, right? If you guys are stuck like in this area, but like you guys are still proceeding to like create space and there's like a fight going on down there, like they will eventually have to bring their groups from bottom back to point because you guys are fucking causing uptick. Like that's the thing. Like you guys are still creating value with 6, 1, and 2 on point, or 6, 1, 1, 2, 5, 6, and it eventually will cause them to stop fucking playing here because they're like, oh shit, the point's ticking. Like I've dealt with armies that do that, like armies that will fight off point the whole time. Like Fresh Bench is a very good example because Fresh Bench will live in this pocket down here. And what they do is like I will keep the army top right and it will cause the spin of the point and we'll get picks on that right side and these guys are forced to come back. Like Whirlwhip does that a lot with me because he knows I hate bottom left and I hate having to have teams stay in that bottom left. So like Whirlwhip will literally just fucking troll me and play in this area until Group 8's fucking pillaged and then they'll take point back because we didn't walk or we didn't secure this bottom left. So that's something you guys have to think about.
So then, so you know, typically 5 will push all the way to the left halfway line. Now, if we're not making progress, you're saying for us to move onto point to put more toes on.
Correct. But
Gotcha.
don't allow group 8 and 9 to just die. Like, at least give them some pressure, groups 3, 4, and 5, so we at least can get to this bottom left quad. And then if say like we should not be stuck down here if we have our fire staffs. Like if our fire staffs are here, like we should be working as like what I know is like a lot of quad DPS will literally play either in like group 8 comms or they'll play in their own individual comms and work together. Like I don't know if you guys know Fioff or Geoff or whoever that he's a homie that plays with like dropouts. He plays with Blacklisted. He plays with Pharma. Like he's a rapier spear player, and like he plays with Jordan all the time, and they're literally in two-man comms together, and they literally just work with each other to dog people as much as possible, and that's significant. That value like just brings so much more to the table than just like running around together. If that makes sense to y'all.
Yep. He was with us until he went to Blacklisted.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Sensitive topic.
No,
but
it's all good.
But
I like turtles.
Yeah, shut
like
the fuck
turtles.
up, Nevers. Somebody
Really
kick
shut
Nevers.
up, Nevers.
Yeah, for real.
Fuck you guys. Damn.
But yeah, I mean, it's all about working together, guys, and then creating that point tick and that value. If we're still getting pillaged down here, then it's still like sort of a hard reset sometimes. Like sometimes you have to hard reset this area if we're losing. Like say group 8 and 9 die, like we just have to reset again because this is something that we have to work as an army on doing because we need to work together on creating that space. If we create this space, we create this pressure, then ultimately we are going to start ticking the point and it's going to start creating value for us.
When the quads are pushing, what kind of cooldowns are we using?
Don't use your fucking Deados, that's for damn sure. Just use all of your fucking abilities. Don't be scared to fucking use your fucking don't be scared to use any of your grabs. Don't be scared to use any of your hammer abilities. Refreshing move on an axe. So this is something as a shot caller that I've sort of like had to study up on. When it comes to like cleanses and building your Deados, building your grabs, and being able to like refresh your grabs, it takes about an average of 15 seconds for you to rebuild your grab by swinging or by actually like being able to just like sort of count it. Like even if you're getting like 2-3 hits off, it's still about an average 15 seconds. Cleanses, if you have a cleanse, it typically can last and actually the average cleanse reset cooldown is usually about 32 to 35 seconds, depending on when you crashed. So that's something that you have to think about as well. Like if Hibby's not crashing like every 30 seconds on attack, like you might be doing something wrong.
One other question: if you're pushing, is it better to throw the grab on like the clumpy bruisers or throw it behind the bruisers on healer or IGBGs?
If you're fighting a bruiser, just fucking use your hammer. Like shockwave, armor breaker, half heavy.
I'm more like clump of bruisers. Like let's say they like they're throwing grab wells. Like is it better to try to throw a grab well on what they grabbed or just like pass it and throw it on their healers?
No, I mean the whole point is you're wanting to push the line. Like the whole thing is that you're wanting to shove that line, right? So like you want to shove this line across, and that's what you want to do. You want to keep this line continuously pushing up until you guys are to this point where you guys can finally step into point. Does that make sense? You can use whatever abilities you want, just don't Deado.
Yeah, it's more I'm trying to think what's the best way to have the army, the squad groups, use their abilities to force the enemy back.
Two bruisers working together can really impact a couple of bruisers working together. That's the whole point of groups 3, 4, 5 being down here. Like you 3 groups have fucking 6 bruisers together and some fire staffs. Like if we're not all fucking looking at those bruisers together, then we're sort of trolling. Because they're way out of position. Like their healer might be back here somewhere, but like if they're standing up here by themselves and they're alone and there's like 2 or 3 of them, like your group will still make more of an impact to those bruisers with the fire staffs, with the kill squads than anybody else. But 8 and 9 don't necessarily always need to impact this little play. It's just 3, 4, or 5's responsibility to walking it to point. 8 and 9, you guys have to wrap a little wider. Like wrap wider so you guys don't have to deal with the pressure. Wrap wider always. You don't need to be near point, just wrap. Until you guys start creating value, then like group 8 can finally step in a little bit and like bring it a little bit more value to the point. Don't step on point. Don't step like 3 feet from the point. Step near the point, but in your lane. So like always think about point as lanes. There's inner lanes, there's outer lanes, there's farther outer lanes, and then there's fucking Narnia on both sides. You guys want to step into this little bit of an inner lane. Don't want to necessarily step onto the point. How does it sound? Does this make sense to everybody? Does this really like go into detail, like sort of what you guys are doing as an army?
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
No.
No.
Mock, shut up.
Pebbles, shut up too. Fuck.
Mock, stay on vacation, bitch.
Yeah, aren't you in
yeah.
Japan still?
Oh,
Get the fuck
God.
out of here, bro. What the fuck?
I'm
No,
all
dude, that's
over
bad.
it. Shit, all right. Let me see.
He was so drunk last night. He was naked on cam in here. Like,
I
Moxie,
missed it.
That shit was crazy.
Damn it.
What?
Yeah.
How did I
like,
miss that?
Damn.
People just thought it was like his head, but when he got up, he was naked dancing around.
Oh, I was clam slamming.
Mhm.
Oh my god.
Hi.
Oh shit.
But yeah, there'll be another one of these about the fort, and we'll keep you updated. Thank you so much, Insanity. You have no idea how much I appreciate it. Please keep in mind, Insanity does call for at least 3 other companies and New World League So when he says slide into my DMs, try to keep it all in one. Like, let's not send a whole bunch of different questions when it could be one.
Send them all. Slide
message.
in, bitches.
No, he doesn't mean
And
that.
also,
Slide
let's,
in.
let's try to focus on our own roles. And I mean, there's gonna be some people asking other things, but let's not ask about every role of the army.
Mhm.
Can you rate my feed if I send you pics?
Damn.
That's okay. He does like feet pics.
Don't fucking say that.
He's also a
Keith.
mini
Come
golf
on,
enjoyer.
man. I'm a what?
Mini golf enjoyer.
Oh God, not again, please. God, no.
The hole in one.
Hole in one.
Hole in one.
Mhm.
Oh man.
God, we've had the wide open
Mm-hmm.
boussoir, the boussoir.
The boussoir.
Yeah,
Jesus
we
Christ.
are kind of dirty here.
Gucci
Mm.
Gucci goo.
Yes.